I'm Wendy Stapleton and welcome to Wrokdown, coming to you live from Musicland with this fabulous audience. Well, as you've probably all heard, life on the road from Muso is not all it's cracked up to be. As a matter of fact, life on the road is very, very tough. You spend months away from your family and loved ones, and a lot of the time you wake up in a town and you literally don't know where you are. So imagine that from Muso. Then think about the life of the road crew, who have to be there at least the half a day before the band, and they are always the last people to leave the gig. It's a tough life, and you have to have an incredible amount of dedication and love for the music industry. So here tonight to tell us all about that with this fabulous book. It's a Roadies Job, and Ronald spent most of his life actually as a tour manager for Ted Mulry Gang. Would you please welcome Mr. Ronald Clayton.
Thank you. Nothing like a clapping time.
No.
Sorry.
That's all right, boom, boom. What I do love on the front cover, it says it's a roadie's job, and it says, may contain traces of nuts. Very good.
Well, yeah.
Ron...
This is part of the humour.
Part of the humour. This is a fascinating book. This is obviously your life story, so it's not just a tale about the Ted Mulry Gang, no. But as I said, you did spend the best part of your roadie career with the one band. What and where did you meet Ted, and how come you sort of just stayed with him? You were so close to these guys.
Well, my association goes back further to early 1968, when I knew Herman from preschool, not from school sports, because in Newcastle there was only like 3 or 4 high schools, so everybody
knew each other, yeah.
And I saw the band play one night, and you know, I was taken. You know, I was already into music. I'd seen the Beatles, I'd seen the Easy Beats, and you know, it was just another progression. And because Herman was there, you know, I thought, oh well, I'll just cart the gear in to save the 30 cents admission fee. And then a couple of months later, Les joined, and when I finished, you know, they moved away to Newcastle, and I was only following them on weekends because I did an apprenticeship, because everybody said, you know, you've got to have something to fall back on. Rock and roll won't last. So I did my apprenticeship, and
what did you do?
At Fitter and Turner.
Did it ever come in handy?
Yeah, later. in the last 15 years, I went back to it. I didn't think I would be. You know, I thought after 6 months in Sydney with the band, it'd be all over. You know, but it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And in the early 70s, like the basic wage was $52 a week, and we were earning $250 because we were working 6 nights a week. You know, at $150 a gig. So look, between Ted and Les and Herman and myself, it was looking really good financially.
At this stage, were you the sole crew member?
Yeah, I was it.
You did the lot?
Yeah.
You loaded in?
Loaded out, set up, maintained it through the show. And, you know, on days off, getting repairs done, lugging into the studio, lugging out of the studio.
Tuning the guitars.
Getting phone calls in the middle of the night, you know. Oh, 3 o'clock in the morning, we've forgotten this, can you bring this in to us? And,
I don't think people realise what a job road crews do. It's an amazing life, in as much as you have fun because of the fact that you're associated with this lifestyle. However, the amount of work that you actually put in, as I said before, it's at least 3 times the amount of work physically that the band has to put in, isn't it?
Yeah. From the roadie side, it was pretty lonely as well. You know, like the long hours. And then, you know, you'd get 3 hours sleep and you'd be up and gone. And unlike now where we've got freeways and everything, you know, like to travel from Sydney to Melbourne was a day and a half's drive.
Yeah.
You know, you can now do it in 9 hours. So, you know, all of that was a burden on. And every time you went out on the road, you didn't know if you were coming back. Because, you know, our accidents were pretty prevalent. There was 1,000 people a year.
Amazing amount of accidents. And an amazing amount of toll on your private life, if you were lucky enough to have one.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough in the first place, but I lost a lot of that because of my, I got married in 1974, and up until that point, like towards the end of 1974, but up until that point, the band had only ever worked in Sydney. So I was home every night. It didn't matter whether it was late, but I was home every night. Within a week of getting married, we went off to Melbourne. And then by the time we got to 1976, I was home 5 days. I was home 26 days in the year, but only 5 of them actually in my house with my wife. So it was really, really, however hard it was on me, it was...
Really hard on your wife?
More hard on her. And at that point, she was running the fan club as well, so it was a really difficult situation where you got a person who's away and the other person hasn't seen them all year and they're getting letters every day saying, I saw Ronnie at a party here, I saw Ronnie at a party there. But, I paid the price. But, my dedication to the band never wavered.
Okay, Ron, before we go to a break, we're going to play a clip of the Ted Mulry Gang? Was it the Ted Mulry Gang or just Ted then?
I think the clip is just Ted Mulry.
Solo? Stay With Me. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
He had a lot of material that he had written in the same vein that he'd always done as a solo artist, but he didn't have the avenue for it because the band wasn't the right vehicle. So he by the time the late 90s came around, he was out of favour with record companies and everybody else. But he did the album and he put it out himself and just sold it at live gigs and then at his benefit concert. But and then he done the clip in George Street in Sydney, outside the Queen Victoria.
So this is what we're having a look at?
Queen Victoria building, yeah.
Okay,
so
we're going to have a look at this.
Stay With Me.
It's called Stay With Me, you're right. Ted Mulry.
If I had my time over and over again, I'd want to be here with you, with God-given senses as nature intended. Tonight, so stay with me, just stay with me. I won't last another day without you. I won't make it through. So stay with me, just stay with me.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. I'm here with Ronnie Clayton, who's written this fabulous book called It's a Roadie's Job. And, of course, Ron was not only a part of the crew for the Ted Mulry Gang, but a part of the family almost. Well, not almost, you were. We were just looking at that clip, and that was a beautiful clip that Ted financed himself.
Yeah.
And very sadly, that was not long before he was diagnosed with cancer and passed away. Not long after that, but what a great bloke he was.
Right. Well, I think so. You know, I mean, I shared most of my life with him. You know, I mean, I knew him longer than he had more influence over me than my father, because my father died when I was young. But yeah, you know, I mean, we worked together. We were friends. We all, you know, we fell out later along the way.
Everyone does that.
Yeah, but you know, we all went in our own directions for a while. But yeah, for 15, 16 years or something, it was just us.
Yeah. So later on, I actually want to touch on the subject of the Australian Road Crew Association, which is an organisation that's been around for a couple of years now.
Yeah, I think from about 2012, I think we had a reunion and bought a lot of it, you know, because roadies, we all knew each other and you did your job, but when the job was gone,
you all back
everybody went, and it brought a lot of us back into a reunion and put us back in contact, so that, you know, if somebody was in trouble and needed someone to talk to, there was a list of phone numbers that, you know, if you didn't get the first one, you could ring the next one. And because, you know, there's been a huge amount of suicides amongst roadies, and
it's actually tragic. I'll tell you the statistics that there's been 125 roadies have passed on lately and 26 suicides. Of course, when you're in the road crew, and probably the same as most musos, you live life for the day.
Yeah.
And there is no such thing as super.
Yeah, no workers' compensation.
There's no workers' compensation. There's no such thing as holiday pay. For musos and roadies, a holiday is actually better known as being out of work. So it's a tough life. However, we all choose that path.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful that this association has formed, and basically it's to keep all of the ex-crews and people in touch with each other. Yeah. And if they need help, the same as we have Support Act for the Musos now, which is another organisation that's only about 5 or 6 years old, trying to...
it's now an arm of Support Act. You know, so it's got that, they've linked it in with Support Act, but you can donate directly to a roadie fund, but it helps the roadies as well as musicians. But the worst part was, you know, there's so many roadies who are basically crippled. Because, you know, I mean, it's really heavy work with, I mean, I'm having trouble with my knees, but, you know, some guys can't walk without crutches, and you know, they've all got lower back problems, and, you know, and there's never, you know, and when you work as a roadie, if you injure your back, you just cast aside and they'll bring somebody else.
Oh, well,
you know,
absolutely,
it's not like you were put out and looked after, and so, you know, there's a lot of that. There are some guys that went on and did really well, but there are a lot of them fell by the wayside, and you know, there's been a lot of funerals over the last 4 or 5 years where there's been nobody at the, you know, the person's at a funeral without a family, without anybody there, and a lot of this is so that some of the road crews from the past can actually turn up and make it look like the person at least had somebody in life.
You must have had some fabulous times, and especially around, you know, when Ted and the gang, I've got all these, you know, I won't show you because you won't be able to see it, but all these fantastic shots of the concert and concerts and things. When they were at their peak, tell us a little bit about some of the memories from those days.
Well, you know, I don't have as good a memories of that period of time as I did earlier and later, because the pressures of the concerts were far greater, you know. But, you know, I mean, we had the crowds, we had the hit records. It was...
what was their biggest hit?
Well, Jump in My Car, of course.
Wasn't a great song.
You know, Well, it wasn't even written to be a single. It was just when they recorded, Ted Albert said, "Oh, look, because Sunday evening is only 2 minutes long, we got only 13 minutes on one side of the LP and 17 on the other. We need another song." So they threw it together in the studio from a riff that Les had worked out back in the days of Velvet Underground, with reworking the chords to the Faces Stay With Me. So, and then, they in the studio, and all they did for the first couple of sessions was all Ted had was jump in my car till they...
had to make something else up.
Well, yeah, because it was written on the run, like I said, it was just there to fill up a gap. And then when Barry Chapman at 2NX picked it up off the album and said, this is going to be a big hit, Alberts didn't want to know about it. They'd already picked their next single after Sunday Evenings, and they put it out under duress, and it still took 4 months before 2SM picked it up. We had repeated, we couldn't get onto Countdown with it, and then it just took off. But by the time 3XY picked it up, Darktown Strutters Ball had already been released.
So you had almost like back to
yeah,
back.
Yeah, like Darktown Strutters came out in December 1975, and Jump in My Car didn't get played in Melbourne until the same December. Like it was December 26th when it went to number one after 3 weeks. 3 weeks of airplay, it went to number one, which is pretty good. And by this time of 1976, they had the two singles both in the top 10. The only Australian band that had done that since the Easy Beats. There's only the Easy Beats prior to the Ted Mulry Gang with those two songs that had two singles in the top 10 at the same time.
So how was life during those days?
Heady, fast. Like I say, I don't really remember a lot of it. When we stayed in the Southern Cross, I used to have to stand guard at the elevators and
Oh, you stayed at the Southern Cross?
Yeah, well...
That's pretty flash.
Yeah, well, Beatles stayed there.
Well, yeah, I know the Beatles stayed there, but, I was imagining you were saying you stayed at Macy's or something.
Oh, no, well, later years, of course, it was the Car Hotel, which wasn't quite as flash. But yeah, we did a store promotion at John Martin's in Adelaide, and they expected about 100 people to turn up. There was 2 security guards. There's 5,000 people turned up. The balcony that the band was on collapsed. There's all these people injured, But that kind of thing
Hysteria.
happened. We did another show in Nullarbor where it was built. The dance floor was built over an orchestra, because in those days, they had the orchestra pit and they used to put a lid over it, and the surge of the people that came forward to the stage, the whole orchestra pit collapsed, and they all carted half the audience off to hospital. but the band, and the next morning they went to hospital. They visited all the people, but like those, they were pretty hard. The Horden Pavilion and Festival Hall, of course, the kids used to get crushed in the front row. It was like Beatlemania all over again for us.
Oh, well, Ronnie, it's people like you that made it all possible. We're so grateful for you to come on the show. Get a load of this book. It's fantastic. Would you please thank Ronald Clayton?
Thank you.
Great job. We'll be back soon.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. Wow, my favourite segment of the whole show, of course, because it's with my gorgeous friend Suzie Pinder, who has been out and about. Give her a big hand.
Hello. When? How are you, darling?
I'm really good, and you?
Oh, look, check this out. Someone in the audience, Bronnie, drew me. Don't you reckon that's me? I reckon, so thank you.
Where are you, Bonnie?
Bronnie's over there somewhere. That's my happy head.
Where's mine?
Pretty cool. You're next.
I never sit still long enough.
Well, I love our audience. Our audience, they're so dedicated, and they come along, they support the show, and I'm really, really excited when someone presents me with something like that.
That is absolutely beautiful. Very good.
Airbrushed out the double tunes.
So what have you been up to?
I've been down to a little place in Lilydale called Pud's Tavern. And I went down there because this guy that's kind of all right, this Greg Rattlincane guy who has a CD, Greg, who is our floor manager and also working on Wrokdown Radio now on Southern FM. And so we thought, we're going to go out and check out exactly what this guy does, because he's a drummer in a band, and I love it.
And did he make it up?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure he wasn't making it up, So we went down there, we got the CD, and we checked him out, and what a fantastic gig, and what a fantastic band Rattlincane are. And Anita actually, and she must be obeyed, is up there. She actually did a clip for them. So go on YouTube and look up Who I Am, which is the single off of this CD. It is a glorious song and a glorious CD.
Are you playing it on Wrokdown Radio?
I'm playing it, and I'm making Greg play it on Wrokdown Radio, because the wonderful news is I'm fairly time poor at the moment. So Greg has been training up to be on 88.3 Southern FM, and he will take over the Thursday show. I'll come back and guest appearance and do some interviews, but because there's so much on the plate for this year with Wrokdown TV, and we're going lots of places, we needed someone that we could rely on, and it's kind of nice to have a guy come in and do the show. So, Greg Ratton, you rock. You rock.
No, do the look I told you that you have to do if the camera's going on.
Do the pose.
Show them the
He's
look.
over here. Do the look. So we had a great interview with Greg and Greg.
And,
Greg
and
1
there's other Greg, yeah.
and Greg 2, both in the band. Well, they run out of names when you guys were born, eh? So we've got an interview. I'm wondering if maybe we better have a look at it.
And this is
At Pud's Tavern.
at Woods.
Yeah, Pud's.
Hey, it's Suzie here, out and about for Wrokdown TV, and I am at the glorious Pud's Tavern in Lilydale. What a magnificent place. And I found, like, G1 and G2, Greg Prow and Greg Ratton from Rattlincane, and they're doing a gig here today, and it is awesome. Hey, Greg.
Hello, Suze. How are you going?
Yeah, fighting fit and dangerous.
No, looking-
Falling at your feet.
Yes. I'm looking forward to a good day today.
I embarrassed myself. I got out the car and fell down the gutter and skunned my knees at Greg's
Don't
feet.
tell everybody that.
Every woman does that when they see him. And Greg Prow, how you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Looking forward to the gig?
Yeah, really pumped
Yeah.
this afternoon.
So tell me a bit about the band, Rattlincane, because I just happen to have, let me just do a little shameless plug. This is their new CD. Bloody awesome CD. Love playing their tracks on Southern FM. Tell me about the CD.
Well, it's the boys. I've only been with the boys about 12 months. They've done a couple of previous CDs, but this one is probably this has been the main one. This is one that they've spent a bit of money on, and we've done it professionally, and we're really, really happy with it.
Now, Greg Prow, it was the video clip. That was absolutely glorious. Who was that gorgeous little boy? There's a gorgeous clip for this that Anita Monk from Wrokdown filmed.
Yeah.
Who was that little gorgeous little boy?
That's my little grandson, Geordie.
Geordie.
Yeah.
How old's Geord?
He's 6 now. He's just started grade 1.
Now, tell me about that song. Did you write that song?
Yeah, it was probably like 12 years ago. I went for a walk around my old suburb of Glenroy. Took my daughter with me. I was just pointing out some of the old haunts and what we used to get up to, and I sort of had a couple of lines come into my head that day, and I just said them to Stevie, my daughter, and then she kept saying, "Are you going to finish that song yet?" And I said, no, and it ended up about 12 years before I actually sat down and tried to finish it, just because she kept at me, and by then the rest of the words had sort of come, and I'd jot down a thing now and then, yeah, one day it just all came together, and I took it to the boys, and
They liked it.
yeah, and they make it, the musical side of it, happen.
Glorious song it is, Who I Am, and have a look on YouTube, you'll see the clip to it. It is a fabulous clip. Now, you're the drummer in the band, Greg?
I am.
Yeah? What are you loving about this band?
Just the freedom of because we're doing original music, you don't have to do set patterns. It's just the freedom of doing what you want. And as Greg said, the boys, Greg comes to us with the ideas and the songs, and between us we all put it together, and it just seems to work. And we'll say, no, we'll do this here, or we'll do that there, and we'll try different things, try different ways. But it's just, it's great. And there's a lot of people say what sort of music it is, and we say, well, we say it's country, but it's not really country. It's
Country rock.
country rock.
Gorgeous, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, our influences come from Mick Peeling and the Stars. Good old Mick.
Happen to know you, Golden Tonsils.
The Dingoes, a little bit of Paul Kelly.
Oh.
So they're the sort of influences that we have.
Yeah. Tell me, is that...
When this band first started, many years ago, that's what we started as a Stars and Dingoes cover band. That's virtually all we did.
Mighty fine taste, yeah? And I didn't set that up.
No, I think there was only one Stars song we didn't do, that In and Out of Love.
Yeah, it's a pretty
else
good
we did.
song. Did you really?
So I suppose that's has had a big influence. And
Yeah.
the Dingoes, we did a lot of their stuff.
He's got good taste, this guy. Good taste in music, hey? Who'd you listen to when you were growing up, Greg?
Oh, God, heaps of influences. I guess my biggest influence was Kiss. I got into a bit of heavy metal, Def Leppard, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, and then I go the other side as well. I mean, I like listening to the Beach Boys or love Tom Jones.
Oh, I love
So heaps of influences.
Lawrence does a good version. Lawrence, our cameraman, my hubby, does a great version of Delilah that you'll have to get him
Does
to do
he?
for you. Very good, very good.
Karaoke
Yeah.
special.
Might have to get him up on stage.
Karaoke special. So
love
tell me,
Tom Jones.
what's going on for the future? I hear you're writing some new material.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of gigs lately, so we're just waiting for a chance to just get together and work out some new stuff.
Get in the
with
studio,
band.
yeah?
Yeah, we'll just rehearse it usually for 6 months and then hopefully do another CD next year. So whatever gig we can get, we're just putting the money away for that.
Yeah, you'll look out for them. Have a look on their website, have a look on YouTube. Who I Am is the single off of the album, and it is a glorious song. Over and out, guys. See ya.
Hey, that place looks absolutely fantastic. A gorgeous little
Yeah,
new venue.
Very
Is it a new
intimate.
venue?
It's been around a little while, I think about 12 months, and it's a place where you could go as a woman and feel very comfortable, very safe.
So is it like a little tavern?
Gorgeous.
Was it a
gorgeous.
pub or?
Like, oh gosh, a bit of everything. Very stylish and very, very cute. So we were down there and filming, and I was really enjoying it. But I did fall on the ground. I did embarrass myself. I got out the car, walked up to Greg and said, oh, guess what? And did the biggest broadie and scun up my knees, and then got up and said, so he's got women falling at his feet, I tell him. Before we go, Ross Hannaford, we lost Ross Hannaford today, and I just want to pay homage to Ross Hannaford from Daddy Cool. Lost his battle with cancer today, and I'm really quite saddened that another of our great, wonderful Aussie musicians has left the earth, and I couldn't not acknowledge this show. Young Aaron, who's in the audience, who is always here, got his first real big break in music with Ross, and I just want to say, Ross Hannaford, God bless you, darling,
Yeah.
somewhere in a better place.
And
now.
yeah, and genuinely one of the best hearts in the world. He was just the most gentle,
Yeah,
giving person.
and loved life.
Yes.
He would go and busk. He would actually go and busk down around the market and wear a bright orange jumpsuit. And people would say, oh, you look like that Ross Hannaford bloke. Yeah, don't I? You know, and he just plays. So,
He was just beautiful.
yeah, so we had the privilege of interviewing him earlier in the show, I think maybe last year, the year before. And I feel privileged. So, yeah, that's a tribute to Ross.
Love you,
Hannaford.
Ross. You've gone to
Love
a
you,
better
darling.
place. Well, Susie, my darling, another week of out and about, and
I'll just have a drink of my water because it's such a hot night.
that wouldn't be an ad, would it? Our gorgeous girl, Suzie Pinder. We'll be back really soon. Thank you. Welcome back to Wrokdown. Well, my very special guest this evening has to be the busiest musician in Australia at the moment, and for good reason. He has recorded 4 albums in 3 years. He's absolutely smashing it, and what a gorgeous bloke he is. He's just stepped off the plane, literally, and come straight to Wrokdown. Would you please welcome the amazing Mr. Russell Morris.
Thank you. Thanks, Gwen. How are you, darling?
It's great. Great to see you.
We live
And
around the corner from each other.
We live around the corner from each other.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about our eyeballs, and someone in the
Yeah.
audience thought it was more
Thank God it was our
more
eyeballs.
personal than that, because we were actually going like this.
Yeah. Wendy used to be a close talker. You know, there's people that you talk to them and they're like that. It's like, she's over it now. She's good.
I can see.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. And you're the same.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to business. You've just literally jumped off a plane.
Yeah, I was up in Sydney doing the rounds, flogging myself to try and get the album, the third album in the trilogy, fired up, and it's just starting to gain legs, and so we did the early morning TV shows. So I had to get up at 4 o'clock. You know, that's like for a musician. Up at 4, fly out
Shouldn't
at
have
6.
gone to bed.
Oh.
You should have just stayed up.
And then up there, and then we did about 7 interviews, and then came back and I headed here.
It's so good of you. Give him a big hand.
No.
You didn't
Well, I
have to
wouldn't-
do that.
No, you know, I love the show. I really do. I
No,
love it.
and
to be
you
here
are,
is a
you've
privilege,
always been
yeah.
a great supporter of Wrokdown, and of course, you know, it
Well,
works.
hang on,
it
before you
works-
go on, you were great. Saying that, when I had those albums, all those albums in that, I went for 35 years with no chart success whatsoever, and I released a number of albums. Wrokdown, you guys supported me, like with Jumpstart Diary. You had me on singing and doing all that sort of stuff. So
Well, that's what the show's about.
it's very important to have shows like this. It's great.
Thank you, and
Yeah.
you don't forget it.
No, I don't. No.
So, the 3 albums, you had Sharkmouth 4 years ago, Van Diemen's Land
Van Diemen's,
out
yeah.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
and this new one is Red Dirt, Red Heart.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what this album is sort of touching on as
I'll sort of
opposed
go
to the
through-
other 2?
Yeah, I'll go through. The first one was urban, about the back streets, gamblers, gangsters. The second one was about the bigger picture of Australia, the convict ships, the wars that we're involved in, the Eureka Stockade, the Shearers' strike, which led on to the Labor Party. So were the bigger pictures. And then the third album is about the empty expanse of interior Australia and how quite beautiful it is, and about some Indigenous stories that you can't do a history of Australia without including the people who have been here for 40,000 years. So there's some of their stories in there. One about Pemulwuy, who was an incredibly brave fighter who took a stand against the British and thought this was his land, he'd fight to the death, which he did. Bennelong, who was like a diplomat, and he tried to get into Governor Phillip's mind to try and get Governor Phillip to give the Eora people a better deal.
So, were there any rules about writing the songs? Did they say that there was anything that you mustn't
No,
reveal?
strangely enough,
Or?
everyone was pretty good. I was worried that they wouldn't like Bennelong when I first did Bennelong, because it sounds like I'm painting him as an Uncle Tom, because what happened, Governor Phillip kidnapped him and held him for 6 months, and they could convince him that they weren't going to hurt him. And in the end, he started dressing in white men's clothes, and he lived in a little hut. And the word was that his own people thought he'd betrayed them, but in actual fact, he was being incredibly clever. Because Governor Phillip had such heavy restrictions on anyone harming the Indigenous people in New South Wales.
Why was he kidnapped?
Because they wanted to convince him that, because every time they'd go near them, they'd all run away. And they wanted to convince him that they weren't going to hurt him. And he and Governor Phillip, I believe, reading between the lines, became quite good friends.
Was Bennelong the leader of the tribe, or
He was one of the elders, yeah.
one of the elders?
And that's where the Opera House is now.
I know,
in
that's
Sydney.
got the beautiful Bennelong
Point.
route.
That's,
Yeah,
where
yes.
that's where his little house would have been, down on that point. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So he was quite a hero. He went to England and everything. They took him to England, and then in the end he came back, and he had a number of really heavy arguments with Phillip and stormed off and wouldn't come back for weeks, and Phillip would go looking for him and try and bring him back and promise him things for the local people.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I really wasn't aware of that sort of relationship. That,
Yeah,
that
they had a very close
Phillip had.
relationship, it seems, yeah.
And how are the songs received? Obviously you've had people at the concert, Indigenous
Yeah.
people. Are they enjoying?
They're really happy. They're really happy, because I remember actually when this really hit home. I played at the Sydney Opera House. There was a concert up there, and it was with Guy Sebastian and Shepherd and a whole lot of people, and there was a whole lot of people. And I said, here's a song about our history, and it's a song about the prison ships that came out here, the convict ships. And there was an Indigenous girl standing at the front, and I could read her lips. And she went, it's not my history.
No.
And I thought, I'd love to say so now, but you'll hear the next album and there is an inclusion there as well. So I had to do that, yeah.
Was that a bit of a moment for you that made you realise that?
No, I'd already started on the songs.
Right.
I knew where I was heading, but I didn't want to stand on stage and go, well, you just wait. You know, I just thought, all right, hopefully she'll like it. Yeah.
Radio? Getting behind it?
Yeah, radio have been fantastic. Community radio is phenomenal in this country. Sleeping giant, and they are just fantastic, the way they back local artists, the way they get behind acts, and the blues stations are fabulous, and the ABC have been extremely good as well.
Fantastic.
So I'm pretty excited about that. It's great.
And you're in the middle of a tour?
Yeah.
Well, you never stop, really.
Never stop,
You never
yeah.
stop. You never stop.
So we work right up till May, and then we go to America for a month.
Oh, what are you doing?
We're doing the Toronto Music Festival, then we go down to Nashville, then Texas, and then we go to Brazil, which will be great.
That is...
They never wanted me to do it when I was young.
I
Now
know,
I'm old
I
and
know.
feeble, and they're
But
trying
I
to
was-
make me go overseas.
I was just about to say how fabulous it must be, though, you know, for it to be happening now and to be invited to do...
Sorry.
To be invited to all these places, the places that you dreamed of. You know, when I still remember seeing a fabulous clip, and I forget the song, but you know what it was, and it was yourself and all the Aussie boys, and you were in LA. You would have been about 20 years old.
Yeah, Happy Hour Brigade. Thank you. I haven't lost much of my memory, most of it. Yeah, the Happy Hour Brigade.
Yes, and so that was yourself,
Rick Springfield, Darryl Cotton, Billy Thorpe,
Ray Burgess, was
Ray
he there?
Burgess,
Brian Cadd?
Steve Kipner, Brian Cadd.
Fabulous, and it was so funny, but you were all babies and really, really desperately trying to break into the scene.
Oh, it was so hard over there, so hard. But Rick did it, didn't he? It was great.
Well, Rick did it.
Yeah.
However, didn't he sort of really do it through acting?
Yeah, well, but Jessie's Girl was such a great
I know
pop
it was,
song, yeah.
but he was already...
But the acting thing had really boosted his profile, and then Jessie's Girl being such a great song, it just went boom. He won a Grammy for that.
Jesse's Girl.
Yeah, it's not
was
bad,
a
is
massive
it?
hit.
Yeah,
Massive hit.
yeah.
Oh, well, so you're off to... Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, let's talk about the tour,
Yep.
who you're taking with you, all of that
Okay.
sort of stuff. And also want to talk to you about the fact that you've been featuring very largely on television because, of course, of the Molly,
Yeah,
the Molly
Ian's show,
mini-series and all of the interviews and stuff like that. So that's another thing where all of a sudden everyone from that era is back on TV having their say about the industry.
Yeah, it's funny. It's good. Ian deserves it because he's been such a stalwart and he's been a great backer of so many people, yeah.
He has. We'll take a break and be back soon with our special guest, Russell Morris. Woo-hoo!
Hi, Mick Peeling here with another edition of Mix Picks right here on Wrokdown TV. My pick for this week is Dallas Green, a Canadian singer-songwriter who also goes under the name of City in Colour. This is a wonderful record. It's called If I Should Go Before You, and it features a track called Lover Come Back, which I just love to bits and have been playing all over Wrokdown Radio and my other radio show. And I love this one. He also put out a record probably about midway through last year with none other than Pink, and they call that album You and Me, and similar sort of stylings, sort of a different musical outlet for Pink, of course, and it's also a good listen, that one. But start with this one, Dallas Green, City in Colour, and If I Should Leave Before You.
Rockdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My special guest, Russell Morris, is just about to take off and leave these shores overseas. Now, with your albums, were they self-released?
The first one, I pressed 500 copies and was going to sell it at, excuse me, at the shows to make back some of the money that I'd spent on it. And at the last minute, a record company said, well, we'll take it on, and they took it on. And it just took off. It took on a life of its own. So I was then associated with Ambition Records. I was with them for the next album. And Michael Chugg approached me and said, listen, I can get your release overseas. I've got people who are interested in the album. Let me do it.
So in America, independent record companies?
Yes, an independent, but you've got to have distribution. That's funny. Like, you can have a record company and they can release your record, or we're talking records, there's no such thing anymore, is there? Well,
they're coming back.
They're coming back, yeah. They can release your CD, but if they're not really they don't have a deal with a really big label for distribution, your little record label can probably get it into 10 shops in one major city and 10 in another, and that's about it. What you really need to do is have a small boutique record label who has a great deal with someone like MGM or Universal, and Universal can get those albums into every store. So that's what we've got at the moment over there. The problem is then they've got to take the punt. They go, well, do we press 100,000 and put them out there and then have to eat them for Christmas?
Yeah.
So they get a bit nervous. So you've got to try and convince them to try a couple of markets, and if those markets start to work, then they feel confident, and then they'll press more and more. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at, and they like our version of the blues, which is good, so because it's not like American blues.
No, it's not like American blues, yeah.
So hopefully, whether the audiences will be able to relate to it, you know, like, I don't think I'll be singing songs about Squizzy Taylor. I'll think, what the hell's that, you know?
No, you don't know that.
Yeah, I'll pick the ones that are probably a little bit more generic, that I can tell American audiences, listen, this is a story that maybe relates to you, and you had a gold rush here, remember, and we had one in Australia, and tell a couple of funny stories and then sing the song.
I have no idea, but getting airplay in the States, years ago, wasn't it sort of all sort of through like college gigs?
Yeah, a lot of college gigs and a lot of, you'd have to do the rounds, and there's so many radio stations over there, so it's really hard. I'm not 100% switched on about it, but I'm sure Michael Chugg and the people over there are.
Yeah.
I think they know what they've got to do, because Michael just took Shepherd over there and they did reasonably well. So we've got to work in, although they're more poppy than we are, but I'm sure he knows some of the pitfalls. Well, I hope he does.
Oh, he will. Of course he will. Well, that's fantastic. Let's get back to the Molly thing. I know you're probably absolutely sick to death of talking about that era of your life. However, because the mini-series was so well accepted, there were all of these other little interview shows, series. Julie Zamira, you did an interview for that show?
Yeah.
And stuff. The thing is that a lot of younger kids that probably didn't know so much about what you did, I mean, they probably had heard of you, song and stuff like that now, are very, very familiar with Russell Morris now. Have you noticed a shift in your audience?
It's probably about to get worse, because Joel Fletcher, who's a dance, like a DJ act, you know, he's going to do a version of The Real Thing and use all the loops and things like that. So it's probably going to get worse. Although you can get your old gold spandex top out, and I'll get my, you know, those tight trousers that I used to wear, and we can go back out on the road together.
We both have very embarrassing memories of certain outfits that we wore along the way. However, we're still laughing about it now.
Still laughing, that's good.
Do you think he'd let us in the clip?
No.
No.
He's like 18 and wears the hat back front and all that sort of stuff.
But isn't that fabulous, The Real Thing? Actually, I can see that happening.
Yeah, it might be interesting, yeah.
Have you got any idea of what you're going to cook up next?
No, I've got a blank mind at the moment. It'll be horrifying. If The Real Thing takes off on the dance circuit, I don't know what.
Could you imagine being invited to do guest spots at all of these, all these DJ places?
You know, it looked like George Burns. You remember George Burns and Gracie Allen?
Could I be
I'd
Gracie?
walk out and wave to the kids, and they'd think, "Oh, look at that old bastard! Yeah, geez, that can't be no." Yeah.
I'd love it. And yeah, it was wonderful, and to see so many people being interviewed and saying such fabulous things about Molly, because a lot of people saw Countdown and saw Molly on Hey Hey and stuff like that, and not that you ever thought it was just funny Molly, but a lot of people really had no idea how clever he was.
Oh, he's
Really?
He's incredibly bright, very, very bright man, and people think he's a buffoon, but he's far from that. And his love for the business overshadows his sensibilities when it comes to money. For instance, he managed me for so long and refused to take any money. I think he's done it just to hold it over me all these years. But he didn't. He wouldn't take any money. He just loved doing it. And he would write for Go Set, and I think he got a pittance. And I think when he first started Countdown, the money was pathetic. But he did it because he loved it. And I think if you do something because you love it, no matter what you do in life, if you love doing what you're doing, the benefits come back to you. It's because you do it with a different intention. I've had my day in the sun. I'm very delighted. And at my age, for God's sake, you know, I can't expect any more.
Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Mr. Russell Morris.
Thank you, Carl.
You're going to take us out with this song. You can choose whatever you do. Good night from Wrokdown. Russell's coming up next to take us out.
I'll grab
Thank
my
you.
guitar. Thank you.
There's a place where I can dream, far away where I am free. And to the desert outback I go, where the red dirt soothes my soul. There's a wind that blows out there, and it carries all the hopes and the prayers of those lost and broken dreams, the things that might have been. Time will lead us all back home. Time will heal the wounds we've known, run through the fingers of our hands like Nullarbor Sand. If you listen to the wind, I'm told, you can hear the story unfold in the whispers of the dreams as a red heart slowly beats. Time will lead us all back home. Time will heal the wounds we've known, run through the fingers of our hands like Nullarbor Sand.